Beware the beast man. Beware the false prophet.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Late Horror Show. I'm Dino, and that is Ginger. What's going on, Ginger?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, we are going to do The Omen from 1976. Oh, what such a fantastic film. Simplicity, tension, suspense, what it takes to get... And we'll talk about all of that stuff. But hello, Edward Stewart, Rich Cat Ranch, Connie Clary, High Boy Donuts, RTN, Black Roses, John
Black
McKee.
Roses. To answer
Jacob.
Black Roses' question,
yes. What did Black Roses say?
If I had my lip gloss, yes, I do.
Jacob, Thomas Gordon, Harry Scott, Roger S. Max, Dave Plouffe. Dang. Dino had a great ending. Agreed 100%. Oh my God, yes. Yes. Sorry to hear that you're grading.
And running and screaming.
And that's also grading on you. So you're grading and I'm grading on you. I don't mean
Connie,
to,
baby.
But yeah. Hey, Connie, what's going on? Happy 2-day early birthday to you.
Happy Connie, when is your birthday?
To you. Happy 2-day early birthday to you.
This is going to be for the next week. Connie, when is your birthday?
Happy early 2-day birthday, dear Connie Clary.
Connie, tell us when exactly is your birthday.
You. Listen, this movie, man, this is deep. This is some deep stuff. We are talking the Antichrist, the false prophet, the Joker in disguise. Do not be fooled, people.
The one who will bring on Armageddon.
Speaking of 666, listen. Let me try to throw some stuff out there. Listen, Rosemary's Baby, top 3 films, man. It started with Rosemary's Baby, satanic cults, that whole thing. 1973, The Exorcist.
And then this was like right after The Exorcist, right?
1976, The Omen. So Rosemary's Baby in 1967, 60s.
Shall we pause for a moment of silence in honor of Rosemary's Baby, Dino?
Yes, please.
Heads down, 2 seconds.
And Mia Farrow.
But mostly Mia Farrow. Mostly Mia.
Baby in the 60s. 6 years later, you get The Exorcist in 1973. And then to jump to 1976, which is 3 years later, The Omen. But then go back to 1967, which is 9 years earlier. Minus that 3, you get 6 years right there. Listen, The Omen also, I know I'm reaching, but listen, The Omen also premiered June 6, 1976. So, whether, of course, that was on purpose. But listen, there are so many intermangled little 666 references to this. Those movies in particular, it's not even funny. But we will talk about The Omen tonight. Actually, the best of those movies is Rosemary's Baby. And then The Exorcist is probably the scariest movie of all time. And second best. And then you get The Omen. But man, The Omen, just such a good movie, done by Richard Donner, who went on, this was his first kind of gig before doing a bunch of TV stuff, and he went on to do this, and boy, then we got Superman, we got Lethal Weapon, he went on to do some great stuff. Hey, Frank McLeod, whoever you are, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Coffee Shop of Horrors, we were just talking about you. Hopefully it's up, Dino. I hope the post is up to our standards.
Dino looked for it, but you didn't find it, did you?
Yeah, I looked for it. I didn't see it, but I will look for it, and you better believe I'm going to post in the on the community tab and Twitter and all that good stuff.
You better believe.
But I'm not sure what you ended up calling it, Coffee Shop of Horrors. Just let me know. But again, we're not sponsored by Coffee Shop of Horrors. It's just coffee that I love, and ended
What
up
flavor is that,
doing
Dino?
what's that?
What flavor is it?
Chocolate mint. And
Yummy.
chocolate mint. So yeah, you can probably search it. Just look for the coffees. It's up there somewhere.
Just look for the coffee.
Just look for the coffee. But yeah, Richard Donner. Listen, and the number one thing. Hey, Bubba, what's going on? Good to see you. The number one thing going for this movie is, and I'm sure you agree with me, is the soundtrack, the score, which was done by Jerry Goldsmith. Maybe not. Okay, we'll talk about that.
The score is very good. The score is very good, but it's not my absolute favorite thing about the movie.
Try to. Oh, you kept interrupting, so I just was waiting for you to interrupt again. I'm just
proceed.
Joking. So Jerry Goldsmith won an Oscar, the only Oscar won for The Omen in that year. And he wasn't actually going to even come to the Academy Awards because he didn't think he'd win it. But Richard Donner said, you better get it. So Coffee Shop of Horrors tried to schedule it with your stream. Very good. So I will check it out after. I just tried to look 2 minutes ago, didn't I? But I'll look again. Yes, the score. It's that. What would you call it, Ginger?
Gregorian chants.
Yes, and the
that's a Gregorian chant.
You know, all of that kind of real. And listen, everybody's copied that from this movie onward. But before then, I mean, you never really. This was, I mean, he was spot on with this, and he did go on to do Superman soundtrack to that also, which. The original Superman, a fantastic soundtrack, but The Omen, yeah, you talk to anybody, that's the number one thing this movie is known for. A lot of people put down some of the other things in the film, but I don't think there's anything in this film that you can put down, really.
I have one little thing. Little thing.
Well, and there's a couple things that people talk about that we'll go into that I
but
understand.
It does not at all detract from the greatness of this film.
No, not at all. Listen, the film was done in kind of an old dialogue type, early Hollywood type movie format, you know, where the lines were simple, and it was just the way it was staged, scene for scene. You had an old school actor like Gregory Peck, who actually retired a year earlier, and unfortunately, his son in 1975, a year earlier, committed suicide, thus making Gregory Peck, which is awful, which made Gregory Peck say, listen, I got to work. I'm back out of retirement. Give me something. And they offered him The Omen. And where at the beginning of this film, there's a baby who dies, and the way things, it's just so odd. At
the end of the movie, when he's expected to do something, and after what just happened.
Yeah.
It's like the story of Isaac and Abraham.
Yes, well, that's exactly what it is. Listen, the Antichrist is again has been mentioned in many times in the Bible, and various forms of Bible. Everybody's got their own religion, their own take on the Bible. Bibles have been changed to
but not even just Bibles, all like religious texts.
Yes, religious lore has the Antichrist.
Just like a great flood, there's always a great flood in lore.
As being the false prophet to Christ, who it said Jesus Christ will rise, the second coming, near the end of days, Armageddon. And with the end of days and Armageddon, there will be this false prophet who claims to be a figure such as Jesus Christ. And
what better way to make him rise to power than to have him born into a or politically
Well,
powerful family.
and that's what makes this movie. And again, we're not going to talk about Antichrist all by. We're going to talk about the movie, but throughout this, we can say centuries, but decades here, when that's mostly what we know, that this past century of speeches, discussions. We can read books, go back and listen to what is written in the Bible or various religious writings.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with the Antichrist is that people have said that he's here. Hitler was technically supposed to be the Antichrist, but there's other people who I'm not even mentioning right now.
We don't need to. But the thing is that means that, because I grew up in a very religious family,
right?
And this is things that we were always taught.
Hey, CM,
Revelations is some scary stuff, and if you think that the people who they've already labeled the Antichrist, but they couldn't have been because we're still here, the Antichrist is even worse. He must be even worse than those people that were already so terrible. But they couldn't. They didn't bring on Armageddon. They didn't end the world. So the Antichrist is even more horrible than what we already thought was the Antichrist. What better way than to have him born into a political family?
But just like this film is, the Antichrist is the almighty evil, the evil that will end everything.
Mankind. Okay? And mankind.
And like in this movie, hey, Lisa 1111, what is going on? Good to see you. I believe the Omen has brought you here, Lisa, with the symbol there I see and the 1111. So welcome to the chat. We have movie discussions every
Jacob has a correction. I guess that's aimed toward me. I don't know. It's Revelation, not Revelations.
Well, listen, Jacob. No. He's correct. Jacob, you are correct. Okay. But again, we're not talking religiously here, and
there may be times that I might say Revelations, and you know what?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm trying not to be, and I don't want to be a jerk, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, because Jacob's been here for a while, but to correct somebody with just an S at the end is kind of something you don't point out, especially when we're not really going in deep and we're not religious per se on this channel. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't think the S really matters. We got our point across in Revelation. So the point is there, but anyways, hopefully you understand what I mean there. With that said,
can I just say that I grew up going to church literally 3 days a week. I went to church 3 days a week. I'm well aware that it may be Revelation, not Revelations, but Revelations is perfectly acceptable.
Oh, listen. Nobody needs
moving to be right along.
Nobody needs to be corrected on an S at the end of a word. But anyways, Jacob, enjoy the movie discussion. But like I was saying, movie discussions every Wednesday and Sunday. Horror movie discussions every Wednesday and Sunday with me and Ginger.
And don't forget the tractor pull every Sunday.
Yes. And tomorrow night is a paranormal night. Not sure why the last paranormal show did not do so well. It was such a great story.
Oh,
but again, I
hope you have him back. Remember what I told you after the show? When people start finding out who that guy is, because he's blowing up, they're going to be like, oh my God, Dino had him on his channel that one time before he blew up.
Yeah, because there's not a whole lot
going on.
Oh, yeah. Big network. I'm not saying nothing. I don't want to blow it. He told me not to say nothing. But anyways.
Even though he did.
Ian Sharp, do not tell me enough with the letter S. I will, I can go on. And Ian Sharp, you're another one. I know you're here all the time, but you guys should know by now that I can get triggered and I can go off. I don't like to be talked to like that.
Opinionated is what you call it. Opinionated.
So opinionated. I can go on about the letter S as long as I want. Okay. If somebody, listen, I misspell words, and you got me going again. I misspell words all the time. I mispronounce words all the time.
You really got him
Nobody's perfect. In the one thing I want people to understand, especially in this chat, and all over the world, okay, listen,
And
Ginger,
all the
no joke.
ships at sea.
No joke that nobody needs to be perfect. And joking, Ian Sharp. See what you do to me, though. But
You
nobody.
set him off. Look what you did.
But it is a thing, and I do mean it with all my heart that nobody is perfect, and I make mistakes every single day.
Me
So
too. Isn't that
please,
weird? I make mistakes all the time.
so just please let people make their mistakes. If it's a big one, then yes, you need to get in there and say. But anyways, okay, moving on. Didn't mean to make a big deal. No, it's all good, Jacob. Ian, it's all good. Connie's laughing. She loves it. She loves it. Hey, Jules, what's going on?
There's always one. There's always one. We always have a big blow up every show. There's one. It's okay,
Listen,
kids.
man.
Daddy just lost his temper. You guys go ahead and finish your dinner.
Don't get me going on possession now, says Edward Stewart. Listen, no, hey, it's my chance. I go off. But
So let me
I love
summarize
y'all.
where we are so far. Can I please?
Yeah,
You know
please.
how obsessive compulsive I am, and I have my notes in order. Okay.
Yes.
This was a
I
rather
didn't miss
long.
nothing, and I hope you're not going to go into the middle of the movie and start talking
I'm
about
not.
it. Because
Let me talk.
we didn't talk about the actors or nothing yet. But go ahead. Come hang out with
This
me
movie
and
was
Dino on
kind of
Christmas Eve.
long.
You paused for like 10 seconds. You can't have dead air, lady. Go.
This movie is rather long. But at the same time, I didn't feel like it ever dragged. There was never a period where I felt like it dragged. When I saw an hour and 49 minutes, I was like, ugh, but it never dragged. To me, I don't think it ever did.
Well, I think you're correct to a point, but you don't need to mute yourself, Ian Sharp. But I did put it up on screen because I love it. I will mute myself. You don't need to. Anyway, hey Zardoz, everybody else coming in. Listen, the movie is an hour and 50 minutes, and a lot of people do bring up the point that there are scenes in the movie that don't necessarily need to be there.
Yeah, some repetitive stuff. You're right.
So I think it could have been cut down 10, 15 minutes. I really do.
10, 15 minutes?
Oh, yeah. I think there's about 10, 15 minutes that didn't necessarily need to be there. At least 10 minutes.
How dare you? I'm offended.
I know. Hey, WWM, what's going on? But anyways, go on, Ginger. And then we'll talk about Gregory Peck.
Do we have to summarize? See, we need to talk about format here. Do we have to summarize all the characters in this movie before we get to that scene, or can we just talk about them when they get here? Thank you, Coffee Shop of Horrors. That's very awesome of you.
Yeah, support the chat going crazy.
I need to know how much is a pound of that coffee, that chocolate mint. How much is a pound of it? I need to know.
You got to go to the site and check it out.
Well, or this person could tell me right now.
How much is a pound of coffee there, Chris? Let me know in the chat. Anyway, anywho. So you're saying.
Let's talk about this format.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we have format?
I'd like to start from beginning and go through the movie, because the movie itself, what it's all about. Listen, Richard Donner. Am I answering the wrong thing?
Yes, you're not answering my question at all. Can we just
again.
introduce the characters when they come up in the movie? Do we have to summarize the characters before we start talking about the movie?
Yes, ma'am, because there's not a whole lot of them. Okay, and here I go. Gregory Peck plays Robert Thorne, who's an up-and-coming
diplomat.
Yeah, political person.
Diplomat.
Diplomat. But
he's an ambassador. He's a diplomat.
Again, mistakes are made. So he's a diplomat.
That's what correcting's for.
Which means he's going, hey, Mike Barrett, what's going on? He is moving himself up in the political realm. And it plays to the point of the Antichrist. And we got Lee Remick, who is a beautiful young lady.
She's so lovely. Just lovely.
She does a fantastic job in the movie.
As Kathy.
Yes, as Kathy Thorne. And then you got the son Damien, played by
Well,
Harvey
let's talk
Stevens.
about how they cast him.
Oh, I'll let you say it because you probably know the same thing as me. Go ahead.
Well, he was the last cast member that they could find somebody that they were satisfied with, and they did a casting call, and this little Cockney kid came in, and he had blonde hair, and Richard Donner was like, "You look kind of soft. Like, we need this kid to have a major tantrum, rip their mother's face off, and kicking and screaming and stuff. Do you think you can do that?" And this kid came at Richard Donner like he attacked him and scratched his face and stuff. And Donner was like, "Yeah, you got the part." So they dyed his hair black.
Yeah. So all
now
the
Dino's going to
children,
summarize what I just told you.
because yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
need
I
to
knew you were going to.
listen.
Go
All
ahead.
the children.
Mm-hmm.
He was having a hard time with picking them out and who's going to play this role, and
very important role. I mean, this is
yes, he made sure to have, and hey, Kay Nelson, he made sure to have each and every kid run at him as if they were attacking, and the only child who literally went off and tear like he was really tearing his eyes, scratching Richard Donner and pulling at his hair and kicking. He kneed him in the groin. This is the kid. He goes, this is the kid. But they, like you said, they dyed his hair black. And I think because of his heritage and the blonde hair, dyeing it black and having those really intense eyes, which I do believe they might be blue eyes. Like, why do
I don't think they were blue. They were like green or like hazel, but they were not.
But they're very intense eyes because of the blonde hair, and with that black hair. Listen, this kid, man, and it was said that when they pointed the camera at him, they told him to just give this evil grin, and he did it every single time. And boy, it just
it's chilling.
Yes, how could you get any more evil than that smirk that kid had? I mean,
it makes me wonder how much did he know? How much did he understand? Did he understand what he was? Did he understand what he was supposed to grow up to become, or he's just a little kid?
No, I believe Damien was being guided for his role as
by Mrs.
the
Baylock,
who eventually, and he does have certain abilities already, but he is playing off the people around him. And again, we're not going to get super religious, but you know, you've got the Hellhound, you've got Miss Blaylock, who technically is a servant of the devil or Satan, and whatever you want to say she is. And these are, you can say spirits, demons, creatures, whatever. Miss Blaylock was a real woman, but she was under the influence of Satan himself or the devil or whatever you want to say. Again, whole different subject matter. But these are people around him that take care of things because Damien's not.
They have to protect him. He has to be protected.
Right. And you know what? Bentley from the Jeffersons, I don't believe he was in the Omen. But anyways, yeah.
Mr. Bentley? Mr. Bentley, the tall guy?
Yeah.
No,
there was a guy that did look
him.
like him. No, that you're talking the photographer.
Who wasn't Bentley?
Yeah, no, the photographer looks a little bit like him.
No, he doesn't.
Well, I can see how you might, if you're not, you might think that. But anyways, Damien technically doesn't do any of, well, he does. He's the bike. You know, everybody knows the scene with the little bicycle. But
and when he's riding that bike, didn't it remind you of Danny? Danny from The Shining?
Listen, the look of the kid, everything about him.
He's on a tricycle, and Danny was on a big wheel.
Well, the look alone, he looks similar to the actor.
And going down that hallway.
Yeah. But that was technically also Miss Blaylock who kind of pushed him.
She opened the door,
and he's not looking. And he goes right. So
And that
Thus,
scene, you know, will we talk about the curses about this movie? The
Billy
curses?
Whitelaw, yes, plays Mrs. Blaylock. That damn woman scared me. Yes. And she, okay, let me do the rest of the characters really quick. Yeah, the photographer, his name is Jennings. He plays kind of a bigger role in the second half of the movie. But Billy Whitelaw, Mrs. Blaylock, who plays the
governess.
yes, to the child in the movie
And no
after.
one knows who sent her. She just showed up after something terrible happened with the other nanny, which was Holly
Yes, Holly Palance.
Palance, who is
Yes,
Jack Palance's daughter.
yes, yes. And listen, and we jump back and forth. So listen, I'll get to Miss Blaylock
The
again.
movie was made 55 years ago. People, if
Yeah,
you haven't seen it, sorry.
yeah, Mrs. Blaylock.
Baylock.
Blaylock.
Baylock.
Baylock. Sorry, I'm Baylock Lugosi. That's what she pretended. No, listen. Hey, Richard James, what's going on? Scariest part is when the guy gets decapitated.
Wow.
I don't think that's the
Wow.
scariest part, but we'll get to the death
Wow.
scenes. The death scenes. That was one
We're
of
going
them.
all the way to the wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, let's get back to the beginning here because after we talk, listen, Mrs. Baylock is who's the governess to the child who
Mhm.
comes in, and her excuse is the agency sent her after the last nanny,
Yes. Yes. Because
committed.
neither the wife nor the husband had called her. They were like, "I thought you called her."
Right.
I didn't call her.
So she works her way in, but listen, everything she does from that point on, she would have been gone, I think,
Oh
within a day.
yeah.
I'm like,
Oh yeah.
and even Richard Donner himself, who when he talked to the screenwriter, script writer, and all that, he said, "Listen, take out anything supernatural. Take out the hooved feet, which was in the story in the screenplay originally. And listen, originally this was the script had 3 different titles. Eventually, going with the Omen, it was supposed to be called the Antichrist, and it was also supposed to be called the Birthmark,
The
which both,
birthmark.
thank God, and
Yeah.
they weren't the title for a reason. It ended up being called the Omen, but she would have been gone like that. But
The
Richard Donner
dog. She
said,
brought the dog in.
yes, yes,
She
and
made
but
them. She didn't. They told her to get him ready to go to church, and she said no, he's not going.
Madeline, I thought the priest was very scary. Well, and I'll talk about that in a second, but let me really quick talk about where was it go? Richard Donner said take out anything supernatural from the script, which led to a very tenseful kind of real life, leading you to maybe there's just something wrong with Mr. Thorne. He's a little
Yeah,
nutty in the
because
head or something.
everything that happened was physical. There wasn't anything that happened that seemed like it
Right.
was. Well, the storm,
Well,
that really
it could
bad storm that
elude.
blew up out of nowhere.
Yes, well, and again, there were things in the movie that lended not towards that because they did kind of slide because like the person like Mrs. Blaylock, uh, after all of that, no hoofed feet, no supernatural stuff, you throw her in there, who there's no way anybody would have this woman as their governess or nanny or anything like that, and but she is,
But there's
and
other considerations. It was a different time back then. Damien was crazy about her. You have to take those things into consideration. She did her job well. She was just obstinate and, disagreeable, but he loved her and she did her job well. So there you have to, finding a
Mike
good
Barrett.
governess is not easy.
Mike Barrett came in a little bit late. He says the score in this film is scary as hell. Yes, we talked about that. It's the number one thing in this film that made it great. Horror junkie for life.
Is it though?
I think if without that soundtrack, the scenes themselves would not have created such an eerie, tense creepiness or sadness or everything about it. But Horror Junkie for Life, good to see you.
So are
And
we done with the characters yet? Because I want to just do a summary real quick.
yeah, we're getting to it. Google user, what's going on? Google user. I don't know how much I like that name. But I get it, I guess. the nanny had mental problems. Listen, okay, so the very beginning of the film, okay, and then you had the original priest who was Father Spoleto, and we'll talk about that. And then you had the other father, Father Brennan, who was the guy who was chasing everybody, who we'll get into that too, because he was seemed to be kind of a false prophet too, because he had the sign of the beast on him, which is in the Bible. But anyways, yes, let's get to the beginning of the film, because the beginning of the film is
But wait, there's somebody else in this movie.
Tell me about it.
There's a man in this movie. When I saw him, I couldn't believe it, because he was in Lady Hawk and he was uncredited. His name wasn't in here. It was Bugenhagen. He played the priest in Lady Hawk, and he was not credited.
Okay, in Bugenhagen. Bugenhagen was the guy at the later.
His name's Leo McKern, and he was in Lady Hawk.
Okay, and thank you for taking the notes on that one.
Well, I mean, I love that movie. When I saw him, I was like, oh, that's what was his name in Lady Hawk?
Dave from Faces. Yes, the music is good.
Imperious. His name was Imperious.
But Ginger's review will make it even better.
Now you've done it. Here we go. Dave, you know him. You know how Dino is. Why would you do that? Come on back, Dino.
So we know Bugenhagen. I'm just joking, Dave. Listen, I couldn't do these without Ginger. So yes.
Oh,
yes,
you could. You absolutely could.
But they wouldn't be the same. Kay Nelson, what's going on? Hey, Ginger, loving off the shoulder. Look, go back to the movie. Oh my Lord. Yeah, and I guess her hair is a little bit more frizzy.
Oh no! Oh wow, Dino, you're so mean. You really are like that brother that's just a pain in the ass. That's exactly what you are. You're such a pain.
You made a point, and I'm like going, there is nothing different than any other stream.
My hair's super poopy today because it rained all day. And here's the thing, I told Dino, the last time I wore this top, it was rainy out and my hair got all frizzy and poopy like it is now. So I was like, oh, I'm going to wear it again today.
Wait, here we go. Yeah, Connie, thank you.
And damn it, it didn't rain again all day today. So my hair's all, the second time I wore this top, my hair's all frizzy again.
You know what? Again, I don't even know what you're talking about. But anyways.
Then why did you bring it up? Why did you bring it up?
Because we were talking about Ginger. And so
are we done with the characters now, please?
Yeah, let's get to the beginning of the movie, because
all right, and it's 8:30 and we haven't even started the whole movie yet, because you keep
holy talamole. Okay, so here we go. Movie starts.
We're in Rome. We're in Rome, and Gregory Peck is rushing to the hospital.
That intro, right?
And it's on June 6th, 1976. At 6 a.m. At 6 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's hearing a voice.
Oh no. Sorry.
He's hearing a voice saying, "The child is dead. The child is dead." So we know he's going to the hospital because his wife just had a baby and the baby died. And she had wanted her own, she had wanted her own child for a very long time. But he gets to the hospital, the baby was stillborn, but they offer him another baby that just happened to be born at the same time that his son was born, and this child's mother died at birth. So this child's now an orphan, and he says, you know, the priest, the father, is at a Catholic hospital. He says, this baby kind of looks like your wife. Just make her the happiest woman in the world and tell her this is your child. And Gregory Peck's like, I don't know, like, does this baby have any family? And they were like, the baby has no family. Nobody's going to come around. Baby has no family. Take the baby. So they do. They take the baby.
They just switch it and give it, you know. At first you're thinking, this is what, and listen, this is something that really went on in real life. And I know that.
Oh, yeah.
I know that for a fact, because
me too. I know it for a fact.
And I'm just saying, from grandparents back in the 30s and 40s, I know that there's a family member. Okay, that's all I'll say. But you know, babies were switched sometimes back in the day. But anyways,
And so the person you grew up thinking was your sister is actually your mother.
all
But you're
kinds of
not.
different stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
But the fact that what was going on here at this beginning scene was just so, when you think deep and you think about the Antichrist, is so horrific, you know, that there is a priest there or somebody involved, which I do believe it's Father Brennan that probably, listen, the father that ends up giving the baby
It was
is Father
Spoleto. It
Stiletto.
was Spoleto.
Right. But the father who had the 666 on his head, who you would believe was a false prophet or similar, he had the same things. How was he
He
not
wasn't
involved?
he wasn't a prophet. He was. I wouldn't have even thought he was a prophet. He was like a minion. He wasn't. I wouldn't have
He
thought he
had
was
the
a prophet.
666 on his head,
Because the devil had
the sign
accepted
of the
him
beast.
as one of his minions. He had gone completely loyal to the devil. So the devil marked him to show, yes, you're one of
I
us
think,
now.
well, that's not the way it's supposed to go.
Well,
In
that's the way
religion.
it went in the movie.
Well, I'm going to, I was going to say in real life, but listen, in the Bible and in religious studies, you will find out that the sign of the beast is only for, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is only for the Antichrist. You will
One,
spot him
correct. There's only
from
one.
from the sign of the beast, which
That
is
is correct. There is only one.
666.
Yes, you're
So
correct.
why that father had it?
Well, they took a little leeway with the whole lore. I mean, it's
Well,
a movie, Dino.
he was supposed to be Madeline's a servant of Satan, maybe. No, well, no, sign of the beast is for the one.
That's
But
it. Correct.
Father Brennan, when the photographer and Robert Thorne end up going to his place later, which is close to the church, but not, he's got all kinds of pages of the
Pages
Bible,
of the Bible completely covering
yeah,
everything.
kind of to keep out evil. So
Yes.
what was going on there? They really didn't go deep into.
Yes, they did.
They did?
Yes, they did. They
Then
explained the
tell
whole
me about it.
thing. They
Talk to me a
explained
little
the
bit
whole.
about Father Brennan.
He had been a minion of Satan. They told the whole story. He had been a minion for Satan, and I can't remember the whole story, but they told the whole story. I have it written down. They did. They told his
Okay.
whole story, how he
Okay,
came to have
listen,
that
listen.
tattooed on his thigh.
Yeah,
But then
listen, I'll
but
go
then he
with it.
wanted to repent, and he came back to Christ, and his way of repenting was to point out, this guy's going to be the Antichrist. You have to kill him. That was his way of making penance for having served the devil. They
Okay.
explain the whole thing, dang it. When we get to it, I have it
Yeah,
written
yeah, yeah.
down.
Yeah, that's fine.
So a couple
And Grant
years later, they
and
flashed through.
Grant says people who worship the image of the beast take his sign. I'll go with that at the moment. But again, I've discussed so many aspects of this, the Antichrist, the sign of the beast, and things like that, over the past decade with some very, very
You have a
studied
guy who
people.
comes on that's a Bible scholar. What's his name? He was on recently. He's a biblical
Gary
scholar.
Wayne. Gary Wayne. He could come
Yes.
on, and maybe I'll have him on to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
Antichrist and the sign of the beast. We actually have discussed that in past interviews. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyways, we'll move on. We'll move on.
A couple
The
years
beginning.
pass.
Yeah, well, that beginning of that movie, man, just was so, just to give. Listen, I know we're still at the beginning, but highlight the big parts and then quickly move and then get to the other
It's
highlighted big
8:40, and
part.
we're 5 minutes into the movie.
If we go over, we go over. I don't even give a crap. But anyways,
Ooh, you
so
spicy.
listen. Yes, that's a horrific part. Just knowing that at the beginning of the movie, but you don't find out what happens there until the end. So with that said, they have a baby. She's all happy. They move on and go ahead, Ginger. You're so excited to talk.
The father becomes ambassador to Great Britain, so they leave Rome and they move to London, and they're so happy together. They were so in love. It was very sweet, and Lee Remick was so lovely. Um,
Yeah,
and
everything goes smoothly at first,
they
and very.
mentioned that he might. She called him future president or Mr. President, and he said to her, "You might be too sexy for the White House." They were
Oh,
so in love. It was so cute.
hey, Rosalia.
So
Rosalia.
do they make it clear, because
Rosalia.
some
What?
of the reviews that I watched said that this is when you find out that Robert Thorne's brother is the president, but I didn't get that. Did you? I never got that.
I really didn't either. Huh?
He's off to
So Robert
DC to
Thorne's
see
brother
his
was
college roommate. His roommate from college is now the president. But I don't remember them saying that it was his brother.
a horror junkie for life. Posted member for 14 months now at level 2 support. Howdy, Ginger and Dino. Seasons greetings to you both. Sorry I missed that. Super chat again from Coffee Shop of Horrors.
Maurice?
Coffee Shop of Horrors. $2 super chat. Spicy Dino. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated.
Oh, is that what it's going to be called? Spicy Dino?
I don't
Or
know.
no?
I
I'm
guess
asking
we'll find
what's
out.
the coffee called? What's the coffee
Yeah,
called?
Coffee Shop of Horrors. What
Is it
is the
called
name of
Spicy
it?
Dino?
Because I said just go ahead and name, what you.
That's a
But yeah,
Spicy Dino.
that's the spicy Adino, no? Oh, because I was saying Rosalia. Anyways, go on. Hey, Ruben Berlin, what's going on? Continue. I didn't know about his brother being the president or whatever.
Well, apparently it becomes
At
clear
the
in the
end of the
next
movie, yes,
movie. At the
yes, at the
next
end,
one.
yeah. Oh, what?
I don't know, maybe at the end. Okay.
That's when I figure
So
it
then
out
we're at a
because it's
birthday
way
party.
ahead.
We're at Damien's 5th birthday party, and they're having like, wow, they got a whole carnival set up
It's
for
Mint
this kid's
Mayhem.
5th birthday. Mint Mayhem. Alrighty.
Okay, we'll go look for that, man. Yeah. Go look for Mint Mayhem. Anyways, yeah, what were you saying?
We're at a party. We're at Damien's 5th birthday
This
party.
is the most. If you were to do your top 10
Crazy scenes.
crazy deaths in a horror movie or whatever, this is up there, and this is one that I think everybody remembers. Where there's so much going on, and this is where we're introduced to the photographer Jennings, who is snapping pictures of everybody
And he's
all
kind
over.
of annoying. Don't you find him rather annoying at first?
At first, he is very annoying.
Yes.
Yes, and until he loses his head at the end of the movie.
Oh, wow.
The birthday party scene, awesome. Yes. Oh, and Edward Stewart. Listen, I don't comment a whole lot in Discord, but I'm in there every day looking at stuff.
His
I
Christmas
saw.
decorations.
Yes, I seen all your pictures and yes, bunny slippers, the mask, the night. Yeah, I seen it. Thank you, Edward, for always sharing on Discord, which is another perk for channel members and Patreon members. But I don't talk about that anymore because it's so hard to get anybody over there. Relaxing music for sleep. Hey, Dino and Spicy, I get to watch y'all. It's rare, so I'm enjoying it. Good to see you. Good to see you. So
Who's
yes,
Spicy? Wait, no. Who's Spicy? Wait, what is this?
you're spicy. You're
I'm not-
ginger. You're spicy.
I'm
Yeah.
bland like mayonnaise on white bread.
Oh God. Okay. So this would be, I don't know where to put it because I'm not sitting here. I didn't plan on ranking.
It was completely unexpected. I was not expecting anything like that.
But one of the best death scenes in the beginning of a horror movie that I've, it's up there. It's up there. Listen, when she's holding it and you can tell, Damien's starting to give off that creepy, airy vibe and all that. And
well, at first, did you see that like the nanny was holding Damien and the photographer was taking pictures? And I think as a mother, kind of a part of Kathy was like, she shouldn't be holding my baby. That's my baby. And she's holding him for the photographers. Like, why is her picture going to be? So she was like, I'll take him. And the nanny was like, oh, it's okay. Are you sure? And she was like, yeah, give me my kid. Like, go. This is my child. He should be taking pictures of us.
Again, Damien, hello, Anonymous, and Rosalia says mayo on Wonder Bread. Oh God, not just mayo on Wonder Bread. No. Oh, not just by itself. Anyways, you got to have meat in there somewhere. Jeez.
No, you don't. Mayonnaise on bread is delicious. Are you kidding
Just
me?
mayonnaise on bread?
It's delicious. Come
Oh,
on.
oh.
Who's this
Anyways,
Frank?
okay.
Frank. Who's Frank?
I don't know who he is.
CM's asking if Frank knows me. I don't know no Frank. What Frank? Frank
So I
MacLeod?
think, listen, Damien was kind of, he's the Antichrist. He's got this alluring thing to him. He brings people in, and he's, again, the minions, whatever. She's attached to Damien. So whatever happens, and this is where we're introduced to the Hellhound, who is, roaming the grounds. And I'm like, there's a killer dog on the loose, which, by the way, they couldn't hardly really get to growl and all that because he was such a nice dog on set, licking everybody and wanting to be petted. But anyways, she ends up going to the top of the
house.
whatever house, yes, where they moved into, because he's a diplomat now and he's got the best house in the world. Oh boy, would I love to have that house. Jeez.
Oh yeah, that house was gorgeous.
Yeah. Hey, Travis DeLuca.
So probably 100% haunted. That house was probably 200 years old at that time. It was 100% haunted.
Yeah, Anonymous. I've heard people say onion and mayo. Yeah, but that's like in the old Abbott and Costello. Remember when the guy came to the counter and he in Who Done It, and he asked for Lindbergh cheese. They just people would just have a big slice of Lindbergh cheese on the bread. I just
that's a lot of flavor. But I like mayonnaise on bread, and I like mayonnaise. I like tomato sandwiches with just mayonnaise and salt and pepper. That's good to eat.
I will, Edward. I'll check the Discord later. So iconic scene, the best, one of the best in history of horror films. She comes out, and the way the nanny, played by Holly Palance, Jack Palance's daughter, is standing there and just goes, "It's all
Damien,
for you.
It's all for
It's
you."
all for you."
And while these kids are having a carnival,
and just dives off and boom, hanging into the window, crashes the glass.
And because she screamed, she yelled at him, everybody was already looking, so nobody missed it. Everybody was looking at her.
She was the hit of the party, is what she was. I mean, way to go out. I mean, props for her for getting everybody excited for the balloon animals.
So the dog looks at Damien while Damien's mom's holding him, saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And Damien sees the dog, and the dog sees him, and Damien goes,
yeah, he waves bye-bye with a grin.
And the dog's like,
Frank McCloud. That is the one thing that I've grown up on that I do love. Toast with just sliced tomatoes and mayo.
Good garden tomatoes, not those dry, mealy tomatoes from the grocery store. They have to be good,
nice, soft,
garden.
sweet tomato. Yes. And it's so simple and it tastes so good.
It tastes like summertime.
Oh yeah, it did try to. Anyways, such an iconic scene, and goes down as one of the best in history. Anybody who watches this, you won't forget it. So on we go, Ginger.
Okay, so the mom did not like the nanny because the nanny was holding at the birthday party.
No.
The nanny calls to Damien. The photographer is there. That pesky photographer was there taking pictures. So he took pictures of the woman hanging, the mother. He was there already. He was the one that was taking pictures at the party anyway.
And we find out that all of these pictures that he ends up taking,
there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, there's little signs of the death itself, like the nanny. What? The nanny has the picture that he took of the nanny. And
how about the photographer takes a picture of himself?
And we won't talk about that yet because we're not at that part. But the nanny I'm bringing up because we've talked about that already. The picture shows like a line coming down around her neck like a noose, So,
So then Father Brennan comes to see him. We meet Father Brennan. And Father Brennan says, "You must accept Christ as your Savior now. Take communion or you can't defeat the son of the devil. He'll kill until everything that's yours is his." Woo! That's deep. Yeah, this movie really gave Rottweilers a bad name, man.
Yeah.
It ruined the world for. And there was another movie that did it for Dobermans. There
Yes,
was
yes,
another movie
Amityville
about
Horror.
Satan or something that did it with
Amityville Horror.
Okay.
Hey, Leanne Roche,
Hi,
back.
nice screen name, Leanne.
Yes, change it. Much love, Leanne. Much love. Principal photography. Some photographers always get the shot. Okay. Good to see you, Principal. The
So he
principal is
says
in.
the Father Brennan, the last thing he says to Robert, because Robert's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, your son is the devil. He's the son of the devil. You have to kill him. And the last thing that he says before he gets kicked out of Robert Thorne's office is that he witnessed Damien's birth, and he kept calling Damien it. He said its mother was a, and then they kick him out, and you don't hear what he says. His mother was a what? But you find out at the end.
Well, he didn't listen. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. First of all, the Father Brennan, who listen, I understand he had sixes on him, but listen, what was going on with him, and I understand him becoming mad and crazed with wanting to get rid of the Antichrist, the child must die. You know, it's I understand that, but the way he went about it with this crazed intent was just overboard a little bit. If there's anything that I'm like looking at in this film and going, you know how some things just annoy you. He annoyed the hell out of me, but I understand it.
Is
I
it
understand
because
it.
of him, his personality, his acting, or is it because it was repetitive? It was like, all right, we get it, and it was kind of repetitive.
Well, I know Rosalia came in a little bit late, but
Wow.
we made a big point when we were talking about the characters to mention the boy and his blonde hair and dyeing it black. And yes, we have mentioned that. Hopefully you can go back to the beginning and hear all the fun introductions that we did.
So this is when the photographer develops the picture and he sees something wrong. And then we meet Mrs. Baylock, and she's the new governess.
Yes.
And right away, you're like, oh, this one here. Okay. You can tell by
Oh,
her
yeah,
face. She
no.
just has that face.
Yeah, everything's going down. I mean, she comes in, she's guarding the kids' room, and I never understood. I guess that's the way it was with children who had governesses, that the governess was like attached to the
Yeah.
kids' room.
There's an old tea house where I used to be a waitress at this an actual house that was built in 1901, and there was always one bedroom upstairs that had a huge bedroom, and then you would just walk through a doorway and there was a smaller bedroom, and that was the nursery. And you would think it was the master bedroom, but it wasn't. It was where the children were, and then the nanny had a room right next to them, so that the kids didn't bother the parents at night. It was like, the nanny's right next to you, don't bother me.
Yeah, I just think it's just, and Rosalia, you say, oh, sorry, don't worry about it. No, I'm just pointing out that we did mention, we always, if you come to our movie discussions, we always go through the director, the characters, and anything pertaining to them at the beginning of the film. And then we go into other feelings and stuff like that. And then we kind of go through a walkthrough of the movie per se. You know what I mean?
So Mrs. Baylock is
going off
anxious.
track. Going off track at points and having
Dino
fun.
does that a lot, yes.
Yeah. So
Mrs. Baylock is very anxious to meet Damien. It's almost like he's a rock star. You know what I mean? Like the way she's so anxious to meet him, it's like she can't believe that she's actually going to be in the presence of this. Because what Damien is, he is basically like a rock star to her. She knows that he has to be protected. She says the agency sent her.
Yeah, she isn't really.
But she seems sincere. She's very soft-spoken. She seems to really care. But then when she goes into his room, she looks at him and he looks at her like they recognize each other. And she says, "Have no fear, little one. I am here to protect thee." And I was like, ooh.
Well, because there's again, Richard Donner said take out the supernatural and all this other stuff. But if you're really talking about like the discussion of an Antichrist and the disciples of Satan and stuff like that, that there is really a connection there. So just her being there and looking at him and saying he senses her, she senses him. So yes, I understand it. But as a parent, seeing this woman come in again, a little thing that I
Remember,
go, oh,
Dino, back in the day until very recently in England, when your kids went to school, they went to school, they were gone. Like, think of Harry Potter. When kids in London went to school back then, they were gone. They lived in boarding schools. The parents didn't even see them for whole school years because they just were disconnected from their kids. So when you hired a
th-
governess, she was there to raise your kids. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean,
no,
the
no,
way it was.
listen, I know
They
it's
didn't have
I'm
the same attitude toward raising kids as we do, where we're very hands-on. They were like, boarding school in Switzerland, go. I'll see you in December, you know?
yeah. Again, it's just something that I look at no matter
I know
what.
because you love your kids so much and you could never imagine letting someone like that have any kind of contact with your kids.
But it's a horror movie, so I understand. So,
Okay.
hey, Santa's pup, what's going on?
So
Anyway,
then the next day, the parents are all dolled up because they're going to a wedding at the local Episcopal church. And
I love that when she says,
the
she
wife
says,
says to her,
"Get
"Where's
my son."
Damien?"
Yeah,
And she says,
and
"He's too young to go to church. It's a wedding." And this is
he
the big
gets in the car
scene.
anyways to go to the wedding,
And
and
he doesn't want to go. He's scared. And when he sees the
the
church,
car's driving to the church.
something something
Oh,
snaps in him when he sees the church. It's
oh,
like,
mm, oh. Yeah, and he's trembling. Robert, he's trembling. Do you think he's sick, Catherine? Says Gregory Peck. Let's move, and they turn around and they go back to the estate of Robert Thorne. He becomes, a thorn in her side a little later on. So yeah, there's an awkward silence there.
so then the parents are talking and they discuss the fact that Damien has never been sick. They went home. They couldn't go
Yes.
to the wedding because Damien attacked his mother. The guy came over to open the door to let this diplomat out, and Damien is screaming and scratching and clawing at his mother's face. So the guy just closes the door and they
Yeah, and
drive
they take.
away.
Yeah. Well, there
So then they
you got
talk
to
about the
remember.
fact that Damien's never been sick, and Mr. Thorne is thinking, maybe this kid is really like not, whatever. But the mom,
Well,
of course, is defensive. She's like, he's fine, he's fine.
well, and again, this is a slow buildup constantly through this
Very
whole
tense.
through this whole movie. It's like one intense scene after another, after another, after another, building, 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 building to the very end. And yes, we're at a point where Father Brennan keeps approaching him. He was even told, like you said, that it is not your child, and it was born of some whatever. And so yes, he's starting to question, but she's not.
Hmm.
So we're kind of at that point.
Where
So
the
yeah,
mother still wants to believe, well, he's just a baby, he's okay, just stuff happens. So
he's
then we
just a
see the
baby to me.
Rottweiler, and the
Yeah.
dad's not happy. And Mrs. Baylock is a habitual line stepper. But she says Damien loves the dog, and the father's like, I don't care if I'm going to get a dog. Like Edward Stewart, I think, already said, if I'm going to get a dog, I'll pick it myself. You didn't ask. I don't want that dog in
Oh
here.
yeah,
And
man.
he says, get rid of the dog. So the
But
next day, they go to the Windsor Safari Park. Mrs. Thorne takes little Damien to the zoo.
another intense scene, because you start to find out that, oh, he's kind of repelling animals, which
Beast. And
animal.
what was that like? The movie that we just watched the other night, Near Dark, when he brought the girl to the horses and the horses spooked?
Well, yeah, because animals can sense a little bit more than people do. I mean, this is just
Yes.
the thing. I don't know.
And this is
But
what I said, Windsor Safari Park.
um
I said, this will be
they'll
good. I said, I know this is going to be great. They're going to an animal
well,
park. This is going to be
listen,
great.
I've never seen so many baboons in a park before in my
That was
life.
a lot. That seemed excessive. They couldn't all live together like that. There was too many of them.
No, no, no. That's they'd be warring. There'd be clans.
So the
There's
giraffes run away from him, and
yes,
then he's
and the
not the
baboon.
least bit upset. He watches the giraffes run away, and he's like, where most kids would
Well,
be like, oh, where are the
again,
giraffes going? But he
they
was like,
did
oh,
they did a
whatever.
great job. Yeah, they did a great job with the kid. keeping him creepy, and like, yeah, he had no care. He went back to eating his ice cream.
Mhm.
And hey,
And then
Matt Maddox, what's going on?
for a moment, they flash over and we see Mr. Thorne leaving to go to work, and he sees that priest again. And he's like, "That's that guy." And then we go back to the zoo, and the baboons attack the car. And I said, "Not a moment's peace, these poor people." And I learned that that scene was actually very scary because they drugged a baboon and put it in the back seat of the car to make the other baboons come
Freak.
to its defense. Like they knew it was in there, and like, hey, we want our friend, you know.
Well, that wouldn't fly today. Jeez.
So Lee Remick said she was actually terrified that all her reactions were real. Like she was
Real.
terrified that they were going to get into the car because they knew there was a baboon in the back seat.
Geez, I'd be scared that the baboon was going to wake up.
Wake up, right?
You know, you could drug an animal, but sometimes it's not powerful enough or
So
whatever, and
then
they
Kathy
come
goes
to.
home and she's had it, and she tells Robert, "I want to see a psychiatrist." And he's like, "Whatever you need," you know, because he loves her. That was what's so sad about this movie. They really loved each other. And he was like, "Whatever you need. You want to go see a psychiatrist? Fine." And she says she has fears that she can't tell Robert, but she'll tell the psychiatrist.
Hey, Adam, for Christ. Yes, yes.
And
And
then
there's a,
we're at the rugby match.
okay. What about the rugby match?
The
That's so important.
photographer's at the rugby match. And the
Yeah.
priest is there. That Father Brennan is there again. And he comes up to Robert Thorne again and he says, "Meet me tomorrow. Your wife will die if you don't come and meet me tomorrow. I need to
Yeah.
talk to you." He says, 5 minutes. Meet me at the park tomorrow. Why not just tell me right now? You're here. We're here. Why don't you just tell me right now? Meet me tomorrow at the park.
Who knows? Because he needs a private meeting, and he doesn't need anybody else involved. But listen, the photographer, yes, has been taking more pictures. He takes
Mm-hmm.
pictures of the
And I
that
think he's
Father
doing it on
Brennan.
purpose because he saw this irregularity with the ones that he developed before. And he's like,
Right.
"I need
So
to
he's
get some more pictures of this guy."
Yeah, so he starts taking more and more pictures of everybody everywhere, and does end up getting a picture of the Father Brennan, who ends up meeting Gregory Peck,
At the
Robert
park.
Thorne, in the park,
Mhm.
and of course he listens to him because at this point he's going. There's definitely
Something's going on.
something's going on, and
Mhm.
ends up just leaving and saying, I do not want to see you again." And don't worry, you won't, Robert.
Right.
You won't see him anymore because a big storm brews and winds are blowing and the rains
This
are
is
getting
but
ready to come in.
before he leaves the priest tells him to go to some town. He recites some Bible verses from Revelation.
Yeah,
And he says, "Go to some town and meet some man who will tell you how the child must die."
right, right, right.
And Gregory
And
Peck's like, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not killing. He's a kid. I'm
but
not
he
going to kill him."
remembers that. He
Mm-hmm.
remembers that, and
Yes,
it's important towards the end of the movie.
indeed it
But
is.
the storm appears. The Father Brennan
What else
rushes.
does he tell him? He tells Robert Thorne something else. He
I don't
tells him
know.
that
Go.
his wife is pregnant.
Yeah. That's a very important part of the movie. He does say your wife is pregnant, and then the next day,
She
Robert.
tells him that she's pregnant.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh my God, oh
The
my
priest
God,"
said it, yes.
and she's starting to get. She's like really confrontational because she doesn't want another kid in her house because
Right.
she knows how evil Damien is, and
So he
Damien's
tells
starting to.
him, "Your wife is pregnant. He will not allow the child to be born. He'll kill it and Kathy and then you. He wants
Yes.
your wealth and your power." He's like, he wants to kill all of you and he wants what you have.
Exactly. He will get rid of everybody and get himself in a place of power. That's what the Antichrist,
Yes.
this is what they say. But anyways,
So then this
again,
storm blows up and the priest is afraid. He
yes, he's
knows
afraid.
something
He's very
terrible is going
afraid.
to happen and he starts running.
He runs. He runs to the nearest church and can't get in.
It's
And
locked.
lightning keeps going off. And another classic scene, which in the photographer pictures, there was a line that was going straight through right
Through
here.
all the pictures of him.
Yes, and kind of another classic kind of scene where
Mhm.
the lightning hits the lightning rod on top of
On top of
this.
the church.
Yes, and cracks and breaks off and comes right down right through his side and just like impales him, and he's standing there. And
For a
yeah,
very
so,
long time.
yeah, so bye bye, Father Brennan. I guess they couldn't. The minions could not keep a hold on him. It's a waste of a birthmark that Father Brennan had. It's a
So then we
waste.
go back to Kathy, and Damien's
Hey,
making all this
Justin.
noise. And hi, Justin. And now I lost where I was saying because Justin came. Kathy
Huh.
loses her temper, and Damien, she tells the nanny, take Damien out of here. He's making too much noise. And when Damien leaves the room, he looks back at her and kind of gives her the stink eye. She just found out she's pregnant.
Stink eye.
She doesn't want another child after all the years that she wanted one before Damien, but she tells him, I don't want this child, you know what I mean?
Have you guys hit the thumbs up button yet? Very important. Thank you. Just saying. Yeah. Yes. So then we go on to
He
they're
sees
back.
the priest in the newspaper. Robert sees the priest. Somebody
Yes, he
calls him.
comes.
Who calls him?
Well, that was when he found out about her being pregnant, but I don't know who calls him. Somebody calls him. I don't. It doesn't really
And he tells
matter.
him to look at the newspaper, and he has the newspaper. He's going to look at it anyway, but he looks at the
Yeah.
newspaper, and there's the picture of that priest that he had just spoken to
Well,
with us.
yes, the photographer who's going to start getting involved with what's going on, because after this, what's going to end up happening is he's going to go off and start investigating with the photographer. But in the
Like
meantime,
Indiana
but
Jones.
but in the meantime, the other great scene. Listen, there's a lot of slow tension and build up, and like I said, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to the end. But the nanny at the beginning, the father being impaled, and then this one with the mother falling as she's trying to reach up to the plants and all that, and him coming out on his tricycle, and Miss Baylock in there just like grinning, getting ready to do her evil deed to kill and get
You're
rid of.
skipping over so much stuff. I mean,
I don't think it's really necessary though. We got 25
well,
minutes,
that's
and
why I didn't want you, because I wanted to cover all this. This is a
so there
great
was something
movie.
more important than this scene right here. Let me get through this scene and then you could jump back. Um, it's another scene that you will never forget when you see it, and it's up there as one of the great. It's stupid to say great deaths in a movie, but if you're a horror fan, you understand what I'm saying. It's just so well done. The whole scheme of the movie, him hitting that and knocking her off, and the way she falls in slow-mo, turns right on her stomach, and then she ends up in the hospital with a cast, a broken humerus, and she's internal bleeding. And Gregory Peck comes and says, and they tell him, yep, the baby's basically not there no more. So yeah. Now you go back now and you tell us the
She
important
tells
stuff.
him when he comes to see her, she says, "Don't let him kill me," because now she knows for sure that Damien is trying to kill her. Then we see the
At the
Rottweiler.
hospital?
Yes.
Okay, so this is after what I just said.
Yes, we're just going to go on.
Oh, but no, I'm giving you the opportunity. If there was something really interesting, it wasn't that interesting.
Mm-mm.
All
So then
right.
the pesky photographer Keith Jennings calls and tells Robert to come to his flat. He said he needs to show him something, and that's when he shows Robert the photos of the nanny and the priest with the irregularities that were in the photographs that he took of them. This is going great.
Should go to, why go to the flat? I would go, hey, can you come over to the round? Another dumb joke. I know. I'll leave again. Go on, Ginger. What's next?
The priest, we find out, was riddled with cancer, and he was high on morphine most of the time. He had to inject himself 3 to 6 times on the
That's
inside
ridiculous.
of his thigh. And they said,
Oh,
why was he in a concentration camp? This is after they did the autopsy on his body after he got the spike through his whole
yeah.
body. And they said, was he in a concentration camp? And they said, no, it's a birthmark. So they go to the
because
priest's flat, and that's when they see the walls all covered with pages of the Bible and crosses everywhere.
yes, he was having issues, but and that's where the photographer says, I was in here and because he's kind of telling him, why are you involved? This is my son. Let me deal with it. He goes, well, no, I'm kind of have to deal with this now too, because all these people are dying. And I snapped a picture in this mirror and I seen something on me. So I'm getting some information. I want to know what's going on. So then they go off skipping. I love when they hold hands and they start to skip. I mean, it didn't make sense for the movie, really, but it was kind of a comical thing that Richard Donner put in the movie. So the photographer and Robert Thorne, they skip off. They've got a basket with food in it, and they go to have a picnic. And this is where they discuss like their next moves and what's going to go on. And I remember like it was yesterday when Robert Thorne picked up the glass of, I think it was cranberry juice, and he says, Jennings, my friend, we are going to work through this, and we are going to have a cup of coffee in France when this is all over with. And needless to say, it don't happen because, something happens to Jennings, the photographer. But the next thing is they're running all over the place to in Europe and all that kind of stuff, right, Ginger?
Mm-hmm.
So so go on.
There was a comet, and it happened 5 years ago on the 6th of June, which was exactly the time when Damien was born. And it was the thing that the priest was talking about, something about a comet. And there was actually a comet the night that Damien was born.
These are signs of the beast, man.
And
the
this is when
Antichrist. Yes.
Robert Thorne finally says, my son is dead. I don't know whose son I'm raising. So he's fully now conscious that this is not normal. His son is gone. This is not actually his son. And the photographer wants to help. He took a reflection in the mirror, and something went wrong. Then he goes back to the house, and his servants, the driver and the maid, Mr. and Mrs. Horton, they're gone.
They took off. Yeah, Miss Baylock said she was going to sheave them, is what she was going to do. Right?
And so Mrs. Baylock says, don't worry, I can do all this. I can do it all. But I think Robert already suspects her.
Who's the robot on the Jetsons?
Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie the robot. That's who Miss Baylock was. She says, yes, Mr. Thorne, I can do everything. What do you need done? Woo! It was, I loved it, man. There were some really comical moments. Hey, Mr. Pumpkin. He says, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to see ya. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that bell icon, and all that good stuff. Hell, send a $50 super chat this way. Whatever floats your boat. I'm just joking. So yeah, go on, Ginger. What's next here? We only got so much time. They do go to the church but there was a fire there, and it burned up all the records. Oh, how convenient. That the devil. Remember that in Seinfeld, where they were going to see the hockey team, and he dressed up like the devil, Elaine's boyfriend, and so they go there, and nobody knows anything, but they do finally find out information on Father Spoleto, that he's in a what would you call it? He's off somewhere.
He's in a monastery.
Yes, a monastery. He's off in a monastery, just chilling and relaxing. When they get there, they find out he's kind of he got burnt, and he's really crippled up and in a bad way. I mean, I never seen an eyeball look that way in my life. It was like Bell's palsy on the side of his face, and it was awful. I mean, imagine the nurse, or not the nurses, it would be the other priests in the monastery. Can you imagine them feeding him pea soup? Just going, and then trying to wipe it off of his face? I mean, listen, it's a horror movie in many different ways, and that's one of them. Feeding Father Spiletto pea soup. And the only thing they get from him is he does go, oh, and they wheel him over to a chalkboard, and they put a kind of a lead sheave thing in it. I'm going back to the sheave word. And he put it in his hand, and he chops it down, and he's it's taken a lot of effort. Ginger, were you saddened just like I was during this scene? Because Father Spiletto. And Father Spiletto and his family did come up with the stiletto from the Italian region of Rome. The Italian region of Rome. What the? Okay, I'm starting to lose it, Ginger. You need to go. You need to grab hold of the rails. But what does he etch on the chalkboard?
Something about a cemetery.
Okay, so go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. I will take a break. Calm down. I'll stay here though. Go ahead. If I skipped over anything, you feel free, please, because I know you take notes, and I never want to not let you say what's on the notes. So go ahead. Where are we at? Ginger's a good secretary. Ginger.
They go to the graveyard and they find the grave. They find Robert's son's grave and a grave next to it.
Oh, that's scary.
And they open up the first one, and it's a jackal. Oh,
well, listen, first of all, when they pull up, the road's blocked by all these sheep. And those weren't horns. Those were actual sheep sounds. And they go, this is the end of the line. So they have to walk all the way down. You can see oh no, that was the monastery. That wasn't was that the graveyard? Yeah, the graveyard. So they walk down to the graveyard. No? Oh no, that wasn't. That was the monastery. See, I'm losing it now. I'm out of control. So they go to the graveyard, but the graveyard is very spooky. It's kind of surrounded by hellhounds. But go ahead to tell us about it. Go into detail. Tell me about the atmosphere, how it made you feel, and all that kind of stuff.
Then next to it, they open up a smaller grave, and there's a little baby in there with a big hole in its skull, and that is actually the Thorns baby. And that's when we find out that the baby was actually killed in that hospital so that they could give this other Antichrist baby to the Thorns.
So they go to this graveyard, and it's a creepy place. It's spooky. It's got an eerie atmosphere. And yes, they're looking for signs of anything, because this is what Father Spiletto kind of pointed out to them. And they come to the gravestones that are covering up the hole where the mother is buried and the child is buried. And it took them a couple minutes to figure it out. But like you said, there's a jackal in one, which is the beast, whoever the mother was, it was a creature of some sort, jackal, and birthed Damien, I guess. But his son over there, when he opens that up and you see that little infant skeleton, and then they don't elaborate in it on anything and how he was killed, but the hole in the skull says it all. The hole in the skull says it all. So the hellhounds come because they're tinkering with everything, and they're guarding the graveyard. Somebody cast a spell, Satan, hellhounds, protect this graveyard. And it's fenced in, and they start running like hell, and they both get attacked by the hounds, right, Ginger? And what happens?
They got away.
Did they? You look upset. Are you upset?
And then Kathy's phone rings in the hospital, and it's Robert, and he tells his wife, you got to get out of there. You got to leave Rome. I'm going to send somebody tomorrow to come get you so that you can get to Rome.
Yeah.
And when she hangs up the phone, she's trying to get ready so that she's ready when this person comes to pick her up. And who comes up behind her but Mrs. Baylock?
Oh wait, what happens at the graveyard after the hellhounds kind of attack them?
Well,
I
they
mean,
climb over the gate, and Robert's arm gets caught in one of the
impaled on
spikes
one
on
of the
top of the gate,
spikes.
and the
Yeah, yeah,
dogs are ripping them to pieces.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of an intense scene. I mean, the hellhounds are kind of ripping them apart, and afterwards, I didn't know how he was just able to just walk around without pain pills or something because he was in bad shape. That's all I know. Hey, Stairpike, cheerio. So what goes on?
Well, they end up getting away. I mean, it was hard. Robert Thorne climbs over the fence, and he's stuck there. And I'm thinking, is the other guy going to get away? And the
Yeah,
photographer finally gets away too, and he helps pull his arm off of this post that it got impaled on, and they get away. And they go back to where they're staying, and he calls his wife and tells her, "You have to get out of London. I'm going to send somebody to come get you tomorrow and get you back to Rome where I am," because he thought she'd be safe in the hospital.
yeah. And I hated that when Miss Baylock actually shows up at the hospital, and uh, as she's trying to get away and leave the hospital, she does this kind of like, ah! Who's going to let another woman just come at you like that without? She didn't fight her off
Well,
or
what was she
nothing, but
supposed to do? Her arms in a cast. She had her gown over her head. She was trying to take her gown off so she could get dressed. There wasn't a lot
I
she could
would.
do. She was incapacitated.
Well, she had a free arm. Listen, if you're going to be killed, you're going to grab anything in sight with your good arm, try smacking the lady. I mean, they really didn't show it.
What could
It-
she have done to fight this woman off? She has half of her body in a cast. She's been in bed for weeks. She's weak. What could she have really
adrenaline,
done?
adrenaline can kick in, and she could at least near or kick her in the
So what does
in the
Mrs.
woo rock.
Baylock end up doing? She pushes her out the window.
And poor
Kathy.
Catherine. She's dead. She's
So
on the
Tom, the
cement
friend that
pile.
was supposed to go pick her up, he calls Robert
Well, she
in
falls through
Italy.
the ambulance. Yeah.
Yeah, she falls through an ambulance. And then he calls Robert and tells Robert, "I'm sorry your wife died."
Yep.
And it was
Very
sad
sad.
because, like I said, they really loved each other.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So Keith tells Robert, Keith comes back and Robert says, my wife is dead. And Keith tells him there's a town called Megiddo derived from Armageddon. It's near Israel. And the man they
Right.
need to see is an exorcist, and his name is Bugenhagen.
Bugenhagen.
And then Robert Thorne says,
It's a
Kathy
great
is dead.
baloney.
He says, I want Damien to die too. He said that.
I know. Listen, it gets really, really. We're working up to the end here, and it gets really, really dark. And to the very last 2 minutes of the film. I mean, that's where it kind of all takes off to. But he goes to Bugenhagen, and
It's an
eventually makes his way.
archaeological site.
Yes,
And this
and
is
he's
when
in a
we see Imperius from Ladyhawke. Walk
yes,
on the left.
which I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think I've seen Lady Hawk.
And it was another Richard Donner film.
Huh. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. But anyways, walks in the cave, and they start discussing and talking about what he needs to do. And
And
I
they
like
tell
how
him Keith has to leave. He tells him Keith has to
yeah,
leave.
Buganda. Yeah, Buganda.
Bugenhagen. He tells Keith, the
Bugenhagen.
photographer, you have to leave. This is just for me and Robert.
Right. And then he pulls out which this is the strange thing. But I mean, I guess I understand it, but there are several knives,
7 daggers.
7 daggers that need to be used and performed to kill the Antichrist, starting with the
In the
center.
design of a cross.
Yes, starting with the center one and working your way out of the body. So, anyways, makes for a kind of a scary thing. I was looking at those daggers going, man, Bet
And
those
he
go for
says
a
that
lot on
Damien must
eBay.
die on hallowed ground, that he is
Yes.
not a human child, and he must be on an altar. He tells him he bears a birthmark, and Robert's like, he doesn't bear a birthmark. I gave him baths when he was a baby. I never saw a birthmark on him. And he said, it's on his scalp. Look under his hair. It's on his scalp.
Yeah, then it'll be under his hair, he says.
And then he tells him to look out for Mrs. Baylock because she'll die before she lets anybody hurt Damien.
For hate's sake, I spit my last breath.
So then
At
Keith
thee,
says
in hell's
Damien's
black
not a
heart I
child
stab
because
thee.
Robert comes out and Robert's like, I can't do this. I can't kill. He's a kid. I can't kill him. So he throws the daggers, and then Keith is like, well, then I'll do it because this kid needs to die. And so
Yeah.
Keith goes to get the daggers, and he's on the ground digging around for the daggers. And then what happens?
Oh, then it's another. I mean, I don't think it's up there as the other ones, but listen, it's a horrific death. I mean, he's picking up the daggers just a little too long. How long it takes to pick up the 7 daggers is beyond me. But
Well, it happened very fast, and he threw them pretty far, and they were just in a little, like a cloth, so they probably scattered everywhere.
I'm nitpicking, but for
And
the
he
sake of the
didn't know
movie,
how long he would need to be. He didn't know that he needed to hurry up. He's taking his time. What's the rush?
oh yeah, no, he's going.
He didn't know that truck was gonna roll backwards.
And some bread lady making bread out of the store next to him there, where they threw the daggers, was singing and going,
And there's a girl, and she has books, and she goes, there goes the baker with his tray, like always.
Yeah, it was a very long scene. I think it was 10 minutes of the movie, but
it was worth it.
No, it wasn't that.
It wasn't worth it. Okay.
No, it wasn't that long. But yes, the driver gets out of the truck and the brake goes and it comes down,
and the truck very slowly, very leisurely rolls back, and nobody notices.
And it's a truck that holds large panes of glass for storefronts and stuff like that. And as it falls, comes back, he looks up and he's still looking for all the daggers. Jeff Jennings, come on. But it's a really cool scene where it should have been in a Giallo movie is what it should have been.
Yes, I thought that immediately. The losing the head thing, absolutely.
And glass and decapitating. It should have been directed by I think Dario Argento came in just for that scene. And it slices the head off and it rolls on the glass and goes off. So, another very interesting scene. But
you know what I meant to tell you? Listen, I'm sorry, completely off topic, but I was watching 3 Days of the Condor the other night, and it's one of my favorite movies, but I haven't watched it for a while. And there's a scene when Robert Redford goes to Ginger Grant. Oh,
yeah,
the movie star. There's a scene in 3 Days of the Condor where Robert Redford goes looking for his one coworker who didn't come to work that day. And he goes and he looks at the list of names for the apartment building where his coworker is, and the top name is Argento. And I just noticed it the other day because I haven't watched that movie since I started watching Giallo movies with you. And I thought, I wonder if Dino De Laurentiis directed this movie, and he made the first name on the list of names in that apartment building where the buzzers are, Argento. Yeah. And I was like, Dino De Laurentiis did that on purpose. He made that name Argento.
I didn't even notice that. Very cool. But yes.
But did you notice? No. The scene where the photographer says, I took a picture of my reflection in this mirror.
Yes.
When he gets beheaded, where his head lands is looking at that plate of glass, and there's a reflection in it like a mirror, and it's his head looking at a reflection. And I was like, just like the mirror. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Very, very well seen. Yes. Okay. No, the details, connecting that to that. Yes. I mean, and it's just very well done.
Bye, Keith. Sorry.
It's very well done by Richard Donner to kind of
And
put
poor
that
Robert
together.
is probably like, what next? Like, what else can go wrong?
Well,
So he
listen,
ends
the
up
next thing,
flying back to London with the
yeah,
daggers.
he's on a mission to go and do exactly what he needs to do.
Hmm.
He makes his way to the house, the estate.
And immediately he's met with a Rottweiler.
Yes, which he sneaks around into the room, and I love how the basement area has these like drop doors you can drop so
Hmm.
that you can't come up, and locks
But
the
you would
dog down.
think, I said he shuts the dog downstairs. You'd think that a supernatural demon dog wouldn't be stopped by a door.
Well,
Really, a door? You put the dog down there and it's like, oh, well, the dog can't get out. Oh, well.
they're concubines. They're still physical beings, and they can be killed. So
Okay.
uh, so
So
the
he goes
dog's
into
down there.
Damien's room.
Yes, and the first thing he does is close Mrs. Baylock's
Yes.
room,
But
and he creeps over to Damien's bed and looks for the 666 on his head by cutting off his hair, and he
and there it
finds it,
is.
and
Yep.
it's a little raised birthmark.
And he
And
never noticed it before. In all these years, he never noticed it before. And that's what I have a problem with this movie.
well, listen, babies have a full head of hair. Birthmarks usually come out after that first year. They're more. You've had a kid, you know that the birthmark actually blends in with an infant's skin, and you don't really see the
My
birthmark.
birthmark doesn't blend in. My daughter's birthmark doesn't blend in.
No, listen, I'm not talking about when you're older, when you were a baby. By the time the hair grows, especially if the kid is an infant with a lot of hair, you're not going to really see it. But who's looking through your kid's hair? But nevertheless, well, I mean, technically I am. I mean, every time you go and wash your kid's hair, you may
Of
be
course
right.
you're looking. You're
Could have.
looking for lice. You're looking for dandruff. Of course you
Yeah,
are.
but listen, something we can overlook. But he
Can you
sees it.
imagine? I said, can you imagine contemplating stabbing a little boy with 7 daggers, even knowing that he may very well be the son of Satan, the Antichrist? Can you imagine
Well, and
walking
listen,
into a room where there's a little 5-year-old boy
let that be the
sleeping?
last thing we talk about
But
here.
I'm saying, can you imagine? That's what he went there for. He went there with the intention of killing this little boy. Can you imagine walking into a
Yeah.
bedroom at night and there's a little 5-year-old kid sleeping and you're like, I have to kill this kid.
Yeah, no, listen, he everything points to that happening. He's lost his wife. He lost the child that his wife was
Everything
going to.
Father Brennan told him has come true.
Yes, yes. So
But then
with
Miss
all of that,
Baylock comes out.
and she attacks him like a crazy woman.
That's her
And
job. She's there to protect that boy.
I know. And she's protecting him with her life, and
And
she
she
ends
says,
up
Damien, run. She tells him, run away.
and she ends up getting it. She ends up getting killed on the kitchen floor, and that's when he actually fell down the steps as he was grabbing Damien, and Damien kind of knocked out. He's down. He's
And the
down for
poor
the count.
dog's down in the basement going crazy because he's supposed to be there
The
to
poor
protect this.
dog.
Yeah,
The
poor
poor
dog.
hellhound
Yes.
is yeah. So Damien kind of so they're out of the way. He ends up puts him in a car, drives
And
him
the
to the
police
church.
chase him
Yeah, and I'm like wondering, why are they chasing him?
because he was speeding.
No, he just drove out of his
He was
driveway.
speeding.
Okay, we'll
But
go
it
with
was,
that.
it was dumb. The police chased him, and
Yeah.
that messed the whole thing up. That just messed
Said Mr.
everything up.
Thorne is on the run. Like, what do you mean? He's pulling out of his house. He can do whatever he
He
wants,
was
but
speeding,
nevertheless,
though. He was speeding. But yes,
he's
they were a little over the top. Yes. So he
yeah.
drives him to the church, and Damien's kicking and screaming, and he's dragging him into the church. And Damien's saying, "Please, Daddy, no, Daddy, no." Can you imagine? And this is,
Listen,
like I said, it's like the whole Isaac and Abraham thing. Like, he has to
yes.
kill this kid.
And that's exactly it. Do you go and kill something? Well,
To
in this
save the
case,
world.
in this case, it's a little bit different than Isaac and Abraham, I think, because Abraham
Because it wasn't ordered by God.
or evil.
Mhm.
Damien was evil, but even with that said, like you were just saying, I want the end thing, and that's how the movie ends. The movie ends with him having him and pulling him up on there, and he goes like this, and cops run in. He's got the dagger over him, and a gun shoots, and they take out Robert Thorne.
Right. But you don't
And
know for sure until you get to the graveyard.
right. So then there's a cemetery scene. I'm just trying to wrap this up.
And they're
So
at
there's
Arlington. They must be at Arlington because he's got the Marines there with the
yeah,
full military honors and everything.
and this is where you kind of get the figure out, oh, his brother's the vice president or whatever. But
I still didn't get that it was his brother. I got that it was the president, and I thought that he said that the president was his college roommate, and they obviously were very close, but I don't remember them saying it was his brother. You don't find that out
well,
until the next installment.
and either way, they're burying Robert Thorne. And
Two coffins.
yes, Robert Thorne and his wife. They're being buried. And Damien's at the very end of the movie. You see what I believe is the president and his wife, the first lady, and
Mhm.
Damien in the middle. And he turns around and just smiles with that eerie grimace, that he does and all that. And I mean, and then there you go. That's the end of the movie. Very odd. And the question is, like you said, again, as evil as your son or your child, even knowing that he's not your child,
And that you've
but
been told that this is the Antichrist. This is the person who's going to
but
end
you've raised
humanity.
him as your child, and there's love and kind of a connection there, even with the evil deeds. Can you do that? Can you get up the guts to actually do that to
And
a
it's
child?
up close too. I mean, you're stabbing this kid with daggers. That's up close. Like, that's not like shooting him in the head with a gun or something like that. You're up close on top of this kid.
Well, yeah, you have to be in the brain set of this is 100% the case. Listen, even with everything you've been shown, the 666, all the deaths, everything like that, there's still a person of faith is still going to have some doubt that,
Mhm.
listen, I can't do this. How can I do this? You know what I
Not even
mean?
a person of faith. Gregory Peck wasn't even really a person of faith. It was just that this is a child. Like, you're telling me I have to kill a child that I've raised as my son for 5 years, and I have these daggers that I have to shove into this little 5-year-old kid.
Yeah. So, anyways, enough of talk about that. That's terrible. But to be able to do that, yes, it's something
And
that
imagine
uh,
Gregory Peck having to do this while he had just lost his own son.
I know, I know, I know. And Mike Barrett does say he will rise in the world of
Yes.
politics. Yes,
Yep.
we've stated that, and definitely that is what they say the Antichrist. Anyways, yes. So, anyways, what a classic movie! What a classic movie! I believe the trilogy of satanic or that kind of movie, like Rosemary's Baby, Exorcist, The Omen. I think that's the trilogy right there. And then
Mhm.
I can't think of anything
So
really
you
in the
would you have been satisfied with the Omen just ending here and not having sequels, and just that's the end of it, and you just surmise that this kid's going to rise
you know
to
what?
power? Or
It's been a long time, actually a very long time since I've seen Omen 2. I hear that the more that go on, the worse they get. And the remake, you don't even
Mhm.
want to talk about
Oh no,
because
absolutely not.
it's scene by scene by scene by scene. It's just a total, let's redo it exactly the way it was done. But nevertheless, I won't talk about that. But I remember Omen
I kind
2
of
and
like that better than them trying to redo it though. But then why do it? That's just, why even do it if you're just going to do it? You're
oh
right.
no, I agree with you. I think a one and done, and I think the movie would have set alone by itself, but
Mhm.
they created a franchise, and I think Omen 2 is pretty good from what I remember, but I would have to revisit these. And do I really want to revisit this other than the original? I don't think so at this point. I've got way too much stuff that I want to watch.
Mhm.
But with that said, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10.
Oh, only 8. I gave it a 9.
Okay. Okay.
I thought it
Well,
was
listen,
pretty
it,
darn
it's
good.
it's not. Listen, Rosemary's Baby it gets a 10 for me. The Exorcist, which is next on the list, that would be a 9 out of 10. That's a nearly perfect horror movie, one of
I
the
agree. I
scariest
would give
movies
The
of all
Exorcist
time.
a 9. I would not give it a 10. I'm sorry.
So The Omen, it's a bit less
Hmm.
uh, of a movie in that caliber, which is why I go with the 8. So In your eyes, you gave it a 9. You said you'd give Exorcist 9. You're putting them on the same level,
Yes, I
which
am.
I respect. That's okay. So
I know The Exorcist is a great movie, but is it perfect? It's not perfect. I give it a 9. I think it's about as good. It's as good as The Omen. I just, in my opinion, they're like on the same level. The Omen is very good.
there you go. There you go. Mike Barrett says a 9. Connie Clary says an 8.5.
So
Santa's
do we
Pup
have
gives,
time real quick to talk about the curses with this movie? All the stuff that happened?
yeah, we can go a few minutes with it. Santa's Pup 9.5. Would you wouldn't give Exorcist a 10? I think I might,
No,
says
I
Leanne
wouldn't.
Richey. Listen, perfect has got to be the best in your mind. A 9 is nearly perfect.
Nearly
So
perfect, yes.
yes, so
The only
a
movie
9
I've
is
given a 10 so far was Blowout, because to me that movie was just perfection.
yes, a 9 is nearly perfect. So, anyways, Coffee Shop of Horrors. I might have to watch this movie now. Again, I'm going to check that out after. Coffee Shop of Horrors. And
Yeah, I
yes,
can't
let's
wait. I
talk
want
about
to
it.
try that coffee.
Really quick. Thumbs up. Subscribe, Bella. Join the channel if you want. There's
And if
Discord.
you
There's
have
movie nights.
questions that we didn't cover, don't forget you can use the
Please
comment
comment.
section. It's wide open for you.
Please comment under the video, even though I
Please
know you
do.
guys
We
watch it
always
live.
answer comments. Always, every
And don't
comment.
go back just to say thanks or hi, hello, how are ya,
Hello.
how are ya.
Hi, everybody.
But we also, Bride of Frankenstein is a 10. Yeah, close. I love my Universal Horror. Anyways, that's another story. But tonight, you guys, tonight I have CBS Radio Mystery Theater. I am going to start periodically going in order with timestamps and air dates.
With CBS Radio Mystery Theater?
Yeah, CBS Radio Mystery Theater in sequential order.
Sequential.
So the premiere episode from 1 through 16 is going to play all night tonight. So in
All
order,
night long.
Did I miss something again? I'm sorry. Restream does not show super chats or anything. Okay, I don't think I missed anything. Okay. Everybody who did send super chats, thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you very
But
much.
yeah, but talk real quick about the curses.
Oh, I didn't get into a whole lot of detail, but there were several bombings because apparently the IRA was active in London at that time. But the producer, the hotel where he was staying, he wasn't there at the time, but the IRA bombed his hotel. And then there was a restaurant they were all going to go to for dinner one night. And when they were on their way to the restaurant, that restaurant got bombed too. There were several things that happened with lightning striking planes that they were in.
That's what I'm talking about with water this time, Connie Clary, right? A jug. Yeah. I didn't get into too much of the curses, but I know that there was some curses on the film and stuff that happened during.
And one of the was it the sound guy? I think I forget who it was, but he got into a car accident and his girlfriend was in the car with him, and she got beheaded.
Oh, I didn't.
I forget who it was. Somebody who was very high up in the production of the movie. After the movie cut, he was in an accident somewhere in Europe, and his girlfriend, who was in the car with him, got beheaded.
Yeah, Mike Barrett says I like Omen more than Exorcist. Again, personal preference, but
I do too.
You do too?
Yes.
Holy spicoli. Oh my gosh. Anyways, but listen, personal
What movie
preference.
are we discussing next, Dino? Are we going back to Giallo?
Tanya Mendoza, hello there, here in Denver, Colorado. Good to see you, Tanya Mendoza. You're going to have to restart the stream to catch our discussion tonight. But we do this every Wednesday and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And the next show or movie that we're going to be doing, Ginger, is, first of all, I got a paranormal show tomorrow with Soul Sisters Paranormal. She owns the jail, co-owns the jail with Miranda, from Ghost Biker, Paranormal, who
Oh.
was on here before. So she's got some clips, some EVPs that she's going to be playing, but
Ooh,
that
nice.
should make for a good show
And that
too.
is tomorrow?
Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then The Invisible Man on Trivia Night, Saturday. So that should be fun. And then the next movie, we're going back to Giallo. It's supposed to be, again, it's on a lot
is it
of...
the 7 sisters stabbed the 5 red dogs in the
No,
eyeball
it's the
or
red...
something?
It's the Red Queen kills 7 times.
That came out in
1972.
72.
Yes. It's on the top of a lot of people's best. So
Dino,
I'd
when
be
you write a
curious.
Q in cursive, when you have to write a Q, do you do the Q, the round with the little spike through it, or do you do the Z one?
When I do a Q, I do a circle with a thing in it.
Even when you're writing in cursive?
Wait, let me see. Yes.
Okay.
But you're making me write it now. And yes, I do.
And when you write a Z in cursive, do you go like Zorro, or do you do the Z?
No, I do the capital. Listen, I don't even write it. The last time I made a Z in cursive, my God, I think decades ago. Who writes? Everybody types. The minute the internet came out and there were keyboards, I don't think I was writing very much often in cursive. I mean,
Cursive
I still
is so
write
much
to this.
easier to write in.
I still write to this day. No, here I've got to this day I write, but it's always.
Do you write the songs?
I write the songs that
Make
make the whole world sing.
Do you write the songs of love?
I write the songs of love and
special things.
Oh, it makes the world go round, don't you know?
It makes the young girls cry.
They do.
Santa's Pup said they don't teach that no more.
No, they don't.
I heard they don't teach cursive writing anymore. Is that true?
It is true. They do not.
Are you kidding me? That was a huge part of elementary school, making the
I know, but everything's moved on.
Every kid has an iPad or a laptop now.
Yes.
What?
So there
Are you
you go.
kidding me?
I love a rainy night. Such a beautiful sight. The wind and the rain. I don't know the
Eddie
words.
Rabbit. That's Eddie Rabbit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a karaoke night, Ginger. You up to karaoke?
Let's.
Okay. Okay, with that said, I'm getting ready for CBS Radio Mystery Theater, and I will see you guys over there.
Ovaltine.
Okay, so with that said,